sleepy. I said, I gotta wake up. So I've already started recording. Matthew is right there. Hello, Matthew. How are you? Good to see you. Everybody made it.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good. All right. So I literally just walked in the door from coming to Lowe's and getting a bunch of dirt bags to put in front of the door because we're supposed to get a lot of rain.
Oh, wow.
I apologize for just getting here.
Oh, you're fine.
Now I've got to look up all the peer reviews that we had and stuff, so I can start reading aloud. So if you guys want to start.
Okay. So first of all, thank you all. I'm so glad that everybody is safe and sound. That is wonderful. Yeah, we got everybody got their peer reviews. I'm glad about that. Mr. Stedman, Dr. Stedman has been really getting in touch with everybody, and just I know y'all got some good responses. I know I did. So,
Yeah.
And that's encouraging too. So, and I do appreciate those my peer review. How they right on time gave me time enough to look over it and everything. So thank you so much. All right, Matthew, since you want to go ahead and start, go ahead and start.
Oh, okay. I was just saying I'm trying to get my stuff together, but I'll start.
Okay.
That's not a problem. I've got right here in front of me, I've got Keisha's. Keisha, you saw my comments on yours. If everybody else had the opportunity to look at Keisha's, am I on screen here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You can see my ugly mug. Okay. If anyone else got an opportunity to look at Keisha's, it is definitely an exemplar of how I would like my papers to look. It's clear that she's definitely been through upper level classes and done APA before and knows how to do research. So it was very challenging. I hope we're switching around so that someone else gets the opportunity to peer review Keisha's and we all get to peer review each other's throughout the following weeks. So if we look at content, it says, I'm just going to read directly from my peer review. The knowing and the doing in your case has clearly been mastered well beyond task number 1. I was just thoroughly impressed with your paper and the formatting of it and everything, and in how well you know this subject area. But I mean, you've been doing it for what, 3 years as the lead? So, you know, that's just phenomenal. You're going to zip through this stuff.
I hope so.
Knowledge and process was demonstrated at an exemplary level. I definitely feel that. I struggled to find anything that was not positive about this, or that where there could be improvement is what I meant to say. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to read that. And it says, this narrative and meeting is an exemplar to those of us who are just learning about PLC. I learned from your paper, so I'm going to keep that one.
Thank you.
And then your rubric strength, you had 8 references used and citations placed well to support the flow. I make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I got dinged on my citations and just learned everything right before I started peer reviewing you guys. So the PLC member roles are clear and concise. Mine weren't as clear and concise, so I know that I need to work on that, and I'm going to use yours once again as a template to kind of follow along. And then the vision and purpose of the meeting was articulated very well. The rubric weaknesses requirement, I have one bullet point there. Says, I struggle to find any weakness in your narrative when compared to the rubric. I mean, just an awesome work. And then leadership. Clearly, you demonstrated leadership in your meeting by delegating and communicating expectations. I don't feel like I delegated as nearly as well as you did. So once again, we'll go back to yours and look at yours, compare mine, and see what I need to do to improve myself. So yours is definitely a help for me. And then that's all we're supposed to talk about on the Zoom sessions. Do you have any questions for me?
Nobody has questions.
Anybody have questions?
All right. So since and I think it'd be a good idea. Okay, you did Keisha, so I'll go ahead and do Keisha's, and then the next one we'll do that person's, both of theirs, peer reviews, and then we'll be done with that. So with
Keisha's comment, I don't know if everybody saw that.
Oh, I'm seeing comments. I just have your video up here. Let me bring it up.
She says she may have to type responses because she has a weak internet connection. She
Okay.
can barely hear anyone.
okay. No problem. Okay, so and if I'm talking loud, I think it's because my stuff is way up here. My things up here. And it says my internet connection is unstable as well. Anybody else get that?
Well,
Okay.
honestly,
So if you can't hear me, let me know. but it's saying, I think this rain and stuff is actually having an effect. I just started getting rain actually. But I'm looking at Keisha's, and I totally agree with Matthew. It is something. It is something to see. If anybody, for a good example, looking at it can help a lot. The content. Like I'll read a little bit as well, but I'll just be repeating what Matthew said. Really, it said the rationale identified for the PLC selection. It was totally identified. Your reason for choosing the process, it is definitely very obvious. The areas of need properly identified. You identified what was needed. Who would be those involved in meeting those needs? Make sure. I think I'm looking at. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. I might be looking at Keisha's to me instead of mine to Keisha's. Yeah, Keisha, I'm reading yours to me.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear you. I'm reading yours to myself, so I'm gonna have to go and find yours. So somebody go ahead on with the other one. Let me find.
I'll jump in since Matt just went, and I reviewed Matt, and Matt also reviewed mine. First of all, Matt, I appreciate your comments because I'm still working on it now. I emailed I think it was Dr. Stedman, and he told me that I could resubmit it because I had a couple of my parts, the appendix and the references, they were there. I don't know if you saw them, but they were at the very end of my paper, and he docked points for that. So I emailed him, and he said resubmit it. And in addition to that, I am also making changes that you suggested. But anyway, so Matt's paper under task, I put the task is aligned with course content, and his research demonstrates an understanding of PLCs. I thought your research part was great. Reading your PLC research made me, before I even looked at your peer review, I knew I needed to go back and look at mine. So the rubric strength, I put use of at least 3 resources. He had 5 sources. Great job with presenting percentages of test scores and the number of students that moved on to 4-year and 2-year colleges and universities. I thought that was important. The weaknesses, I put to enhance your school profile, I would recommend, and I kind of put these as bullets, elaborate on the roles of the 5 assistant principals in your school. And I don't know if yours has different roles like mine, but each of the assistant principals in my school have different roles. Are there any special initiatives or programs in place at Nation Forward? And if so, describe those programs. Try to include tables, charts, or graphs in your narrative. And I said it would probably be easy to use one for your test scores. And I mainly put that in there because I know the professors have been really big on tables, charts, and graphs. And include your appendices to include the email confirmation from your principal to establish a PLC, your meeting agenda, the minutes, the norms established, communication with members, and any other pictures or artifacts that you may have. Under leadership, evidence of leadership is demonstrated through the process of the PLC meeting and the presentation that was used at the meeting. And I also put in there that I like that you included the hyperlink to your presentation because I went and looked at that. Mechanics and grammar, your narrative, I thought it was very professional. I did notice a few spelling errors, and those were the ones that were underlined in red on your paper. And then under PLC selection, Deborah Miller was referred to as Mr. Miller. I'm assuming Deborah's a female, so not a whole much there though. And it was stuff like the underlining, you probably would have caught that yourself. Organization, the structure of task 1 was organized and professional. I like that you had specific sections within your PLC for the research that described the 3 tenets. And then I put in there was one part I wasn't sure what you were trying to say in the second sentence of the 4th paragraph under organizational collaboration. But your headings and your subheadings were clearly presented and the evidence was easy to locate. And then the last one, the APA formatting, I put a note on there because I was also told that I need to go back and check my in-text citation, so I'm not sure about yours. But the one thing I put on there was the data regarding your test scores. Wherever you got that from is just like a question. Is that something that you should cite as well? Do you have any questions for me, Matt?
No, I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate anyone who can give me feedback, because this graduate level stuff is all new to me again. I haven't been in a grad school for 15 years. So
Same.
I appreciate your help and your critiquing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also had Matt, so I can go next. I want to start with content, and just like Samanja said, your research was very well developed. So that even made me reflect and look back at mine and want to go back and kind of tweak what I did with my research and add more, because I know that's something that I need to do. But for content, I said your PLC was very well developed. I like the sequence of your presentation. And every expectation was outlined, and dates for your next meetings were set. So that was something that I liked. And your research supported an effective PLC once again. For rubric strength, your research was fully developed with 3 or more sources. Members and roles were documented, and your presentation indicated the vision and purpose of the PLC. And also you utilized technology through your presentation, and I thought that was something that was good that the rubric also indicated. Rubric weaknesses, and this could have just been my misconception. The candidates could have led the discussion and invited members to collaborate regarding the belief section to kind of foster collaboration within the PLC. So. And as far as leadership, you exhibited leadership by creating the presentation for your team and acknowledging any misconceptions that they may have concerning professional learning communities. So I like the fact that you led that, and you were already aware that there may be some misconceptions of the members. So you clarified that. And I think we only had to address the first 4 components of the peer review template. So that was it.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to take both of yours and go back. I still have to finish mine. You're probably like me, like scratching just to get the next level, but thank you so much for your critique, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Angela, can you hear us?
I can. I do have. I just cannot locate any of the peer reviews. I'm still actually looking for them. I have Faith. Okay, I think. Let's see. Make sure I got it.
So if you go back to the discussion board, can you pull it up from there?
I did, and when I went to discussion board for Keisha, and I printed out, and it said, "This is your peer review." It's not my peer review.
It's the one that she did for you.
Exactly.
What about the Dropbox? What about the Dropbox?
I'm gonna go there now. Let me go.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, this is, and I've read all of them. So, I mean, I should be able to get back to them. I'm going to the Dropbox now, and let's see. Okay. All right, so. All right, so this, let me make it bigger here so I can see it. All right, Keisha, so. All right, so this is Keisha's, and you guys, I can't see your faces right now because I got this up big so I can see, because I do wear glasses. If you can't hear me, please let me know. All right, so the paper identifies the issues. This is the content of Pasquotank County, the issues that Pasquotank County encountered as it relates to 2017-18 school year. The school did not meet growth. So that was clearly identified. The candidate identified the decrease in student performance as well as teachers' performance. Administration developed strategies to modify instruction within the educational structure, which will include goal setting. So she definitely covered everything concerning content, all the support that was needed so that she can make that decision. I know what she's talking about, so I understand why they're doing what they do. So that in itself was self-explanatory. She did a wonderful job in that. Using the language, where the rubric strength, using the language of the rubric, examines the text for areas of strength and comment. Be prepared to share during the Zoom. We're doing that now. The clear identification of strengths is found in the team's dedication to the Reformation. The goals were established and agreed upon. Although they acknowledged the present issues, there was discussions that included preventive measures as well. Prevention clearly identifies the strength of the team and their dedication to find and innovative ways to help the students with their deficiencies, as well as the teachers. So the rubric strength, the language, just identifying the strengths and what they have decided to do was all there as well. Using the language, the rubric weakness, using the language of the rubric. And that's something that I find that's helping me on task 2. I know this is kind of like outside of what we're talking about right now, but using the language of the rubric. So answering the question with the actual language of the rubric helps me a lot for task 2, even in writing task 2's paper. It's the one clearly identifiable weakness is there were no teachers on the team. The solutions that are being put in place are for the teachers. However, teachers have no voice within the meetings to share their concerns and literal experiences in the classroom that could help with the process. The team may consist of former teachers. However, a teacher that is presently in the class could be a great resource in making decisions about the classroom. Leadership. All right, it says, how is leadership demonstrated? Does the narrative feature analytical observations that refer to the prompt? Indeed, it does. The candidate has aligned the narrative and the PLC with the prompt. Her position of leadership is demonstrated as she works with administration, devising a plan of action which will meet the academic needs of the students and the instructional, as well as instructional implementation in relation to the teachers. So as Matthew said, and I'm sure in your reading and hearing what we're saying, she's definitely an example. Full of graphs, full of charts. I'm like, okay, I get this. I could do this. At first, I was kind of weary of being able to do this satisfactory, but after looking at, I'm okay, Keisha. I was tempted to call you a couple times, but your paper helped me out, so I do appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to go to my next person. Here we go here. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, so this is, all right, so this is Simonja. The content. The candidate narrative is aligned with the course content, and it clearly identifies the external sources that will be used in supporting the decision that they're making. The awareness of academic needs in the area of math was expressed in a clear and concise manner, which provided adequate evidence that the stages that are being pursued are necessary in meeting the needs of 6th graders of Crossroad Intermediate. So yes, content was there, very clearly stated. This rubric strength, the narrative identifies strength in the selection of the members. They are identified as experts in their areas of academics. The candidate supports her statement as she shares a short history of each member. So she supported their expertise by identifying what they actually do. The rubric weakness, the area of the text where weakness is apparent was found in the actual PLC meeting. Although the candidate clearly identified the steps that would be taken in the beginning of the narrative, it was here in the meeting where there was no identifiable process. The purpose was mentioned, but no explanation in this section was given. Leadership. The demonstration of leadership was obvious in the selection of the PLC members, and the desegregation of the data is identified in identifying the needs of the students. So again, paper well done. I was definitely impressed, and I can read all of your peer reviews. I can read all of your task ones, and I can go back and know what to do on my own paper. I just got out of my second master's class 2017, so it hasn't been 15 years for me, but definitely a little rusty. Been a year, a little rusty, so I am definitely using your stuff. Thank you. Yeah, and you guys are awesome. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. You guys I'm looking at it like, oh, these guys are principals already. They are doing stuff. You already do.
Matt's like, nope.
You're already doing it. I'm looking at it like, okay, God, I'm gonna have to ask some questions. I'm very impressed, very impressed. Glad to have you on my team because I know you know what you're talking about. This 6th grade, this is a huge school. If anybody read this is just sixth graders. This is what was it, 800? How many?
809. That's actually low for us. A couple of years ago, we were up to 1,000.
Wow. And I mean, I'm reading, I'm like, I'm a high school teacher. I do not want to go back to the middle school, but 600 middle schoolers, that's an awesome task. And also you guys are doing an excellent job. When I read Keisha's task, I saw some of the familiar things that we're dealing with, but they're definitely not as low as we are. But they, but I did see some of the familiar areas that we're dealing with at our school. So I'm listening to what she's saying and some of the ideas that she have about trying to fix that issue. So I'm glad that I can hear or read or just be on the Zoom and hear some of the ideas that everybody has. I was trying to get in touch with you, Matthew, because I was like, you sent an email out and you were a little nervous, a little concerned. So I was like, you need to give me your number so I can call them and say, you okay? Everything good? Everything cool?
Yeah, I'll tell you, last night's the first night I've slept in a while. Night previous, I went to bed at 4 o'clock and got up to go to work at 7. Night before that, exact same thing. So, if you guys aren't hearing from me, I'm sitting at my computer working. I worked on that paper for over 36 hours this weekend. I think I'm doing something incorrectly because I spoke with my clinical coach today, and he's like, "You're doing a little too much." I told him how long my research was. He goes, "Nah, not really." He goes, I'm actually one of the evaluators, and I look at it and I go, okay, do they have this, this, and this? Yep. What about this, this? Okay, they're good. I said, are you kidding me? You could have told me that a week ago before I started working on this. So, but it sounds like Samanja's staying up late too. All right, is that right?
I am. So, and I don't know if I finished my master's in 2007. So it's been a while since I've been in school. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's it. You said 15 years for you. It's been a while for me, but it's taking me a while as well to, I'm finding the information, but just putting it in narrative form, that's been my struggle. As a matter of fact, I was working on my paper again today, trying to go back and make changes based on the peer review. So
right. Well,
I am getting some sleep though.
You get to the end, right?
Yeah.
Well, can I go ahead and do the peer review on yours? You guys mind if I go ahead and do the peer review on Samanja?
That's fine.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Samanja, our feedback on the content area, as you already addressed, I put on here, I hate that I put on the very first bullet, but
no, it's fine.
The very first bullet, it says research is lacking sufficient support to demonstrate understanding. Support details on the PLC research with more in-depth explanation of each bullet point. And you had several bullet points and you highlighted the PLC very well, but I feel like that, each one of those bullet points should have had a little more research for the reader to understand that you truly understood that. And that's why I put that remark. The next one is research topic needs stronger evidence of what needs to be done to form a PLC. I felt like your narrative stated this is what a PLC is, but I would have liked to have seen, I feel like readers would like to have seen, what do we need to do to form that PLC now? We understand you understand what a PLC is. What do we need to do to form that? So that's my feedback for the content area. Any questions on that?
Nope, it made perfect sense to me. Like I said, I've already been working on it, so thanks.
Rubric strength, you used 6 sources, and most were recent references. So you didn't use sources from 1997 like I do on one of mine. So you're not using outdated material. Very detailed explanation of PLC member roles. I was very impressed with that. I need to go back and fix my PLC member roles, especially after looking at yours. You have a solid understanding of why members were chosen. I wish that I would have had more of a understanding of how my members were chosen, like yours, if that comes out well. I'm not sure if I articulated that well. Submitted multiple artifacts of meeting. That was great. Your agenda minutes, your proof of communication. It was clear that you held a meeting and you led the meeting. Rubric weaknesses. Used multiple sources but displayed little metacognitive reflection on the citations used. A lot of your citations were placed in there, but I think it would be a more solid narrative if you place the citation and then put your own spin on it.
Right.
Why you use that citation. Maybe not on all of them, but on several of them. Say, okay, that you support the citation. Going down to rubric weaknesses again. No other weaknesses observed. That's the only thing I can see on as far as the rubric goes. And then lastly, we're looking at the leadership. You led the PLC and educated members on PLCs and misconceptions. I think that's what we need to do. Just because we chose a PLC does not mean that they know what a PLC is. So even in my second meeting, I went back and said, this is what a PLC is, so that they can continuously understand, rather than a lot of teachers think that they're just meeting, just meeting in the hallway or something. So I think that was great that you put that in there. And then you established roles for PLC members. That was their leadership. And then you set the meeting agenda, which is expected of a leader. So that's it for our Zoom conversation on this. I want to scroll down quickly so these people, everybody else knows my notes. It says for APA formatting, 39 words or fewer receive quotes around it. And then it says 40 or more words receive a freestanding block. And I gave you a reference on there, which I'm sure you're using. Anybody else who looks at that think, man, Matt must know what he's talking about. I literally just learned it 2 hours before I read your paper. So there's just a couple of pointers that I found I could share with you. So, and that's what I've got. Any questions?
I appreciate the feedback. I really do. Like I said, since I received yours and Angela's, and I read over them, and I've been working on my paper. So my plan is and I'll resubmit it to Dr. Stedman, just because I kind of want my grade to be up because of my references and my appendix, but also because I've edited some of the narrative sections. So I appreciate it.
Excellent.
Am I next?
Yes, sweetie.
Okay.
Sure.
Before I start, can I ask a couple of questions regarding my paper?
Mm-hmm.
Angela, I think you said that some of the paper was single spaced and some was double spaced.
Right.
I have never had a template for APA, so I'm not used to having the prompts and instructions in there. So do I need to go back and double space all those prompts? Because on the example,
it's not
that they, what was that? I'm sorry.
You said, like, on the examples, there's no double space.
Well, on the example, she just left the prompt, but we have far more instructions on our template, and I left all that single space. So is that wrong?
Well, mine is double spaced.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and he gave me the highest score you can get.
Okay.
So in APA, it is double spaced. AP is definitely double spaced.
Okay, and I didn't, and I got the same thing. Okay, so I did.
Yeah.
Huh?
I did too.
Well, your narrative, I don't have your paper.
I didn't double space my directions either.
Okay.
And I got the highest score once I resubmitted.
Okay. Yeah, because I left the prompt and I left the instruction single space and I left my narrative double space, and I know it looks super weird. I just didn't know what to do with that. That was okay.
Your instructions, can you hear me? Yeah, they're done.
Uh-huh.
Your instructions are supposed to stay single spaced.
Okay.
But anything that is in your narrative is double spaced.
Gotcha.
Anything underneath a table, explaining that table, will be single spaced.
Single space.
Yeah. So just as long as you double space your narrative.
Okay, I was just making sure. And Angela left a good point about my PLC not having any teachers in it. Originally, I would have a PLC with teachers, and I thought to put some teachers in it, and I might make some adjustments later. I was trying to get some of you guys' input because of the administrative team, including myself, 3 of us are brand new to the school. And the 4th administrator that's been there the whole time has not been diligent in making sure the other teachers are having effective PLCs and are meeting. So the 3 of us are coming in not knowing what's really been going on at the school regarding the PLCs of the teachers. They have their PLC groups. They have been supposed to be meeting, but because there's been such turnover at the school, we don't know who's been meeting, if they've been meeting. And so we didn't want to come in and just have the hammer fly down, so to speak. And so we might bring some teachers from each content area later. I just did not know how to go forward with doing that right now without disrupting everything.
Okay.
I didn't know if anybody else had any input.
I read yours, Keisha, and I noticed that there were no teachers, but considering, like you said, all of you guys were new, I think that's a good idea to not have any teachers, because I would imagine it'd be hard to select which teachers to be part of your group. So I think that's a good idea.
Okay, because that did worry me a bit, because they are the ones that we're trying to have the reform with, but we can't even get any input from the existing administrator. I see it. I'll go ahead and get to my feedback.
I was going to mention that too.
We're done.
We've got about 6 minutes now.
Okay. Okay. The first one is for Angela's. Regarding content, the rationale was identified for the selection of the PLC process. The areas of need were properly identified through the use of EOC scores from the previous school year. I did put in a question. I don't know your role at the school, but will your principal allow you to see the EVOS data? I know sometimes principals are shaky about that, but I think it's something you will need when it comes out in October. I think the research is sufficient, but I probably add like maybe one more source for PLCs. I think that was it for content, but I was very, very clearly able to see the need for reform at the school. As far as the rubric strength, I said the organization was phenomenal and had a very, very logical sequence. I love the way she had a teacher from every single content area in the PLC. You had CTE, you had exceptional children, you had core classes, all of that. Regarding rubric weaknesses, I just think that one of the diagrams were not clearly visible. So I don't know if there's anything we could do to fix those. Just a little bit more research on PLCs, but other than that, it was a really, really great evidence. As far as leadership, the candidates selected PLC members in their roles that were pivotal in the process of educational reform. Again, I was really impressed with how you had a representative from every single area in secondary education. And I think overall that was it. Were there any questions about that, Angela?
That helped me so
Okay.
much. It really did. Thank you so much.
All right. And quickly, Faith, I had yours next. Regarding the content, the sequence and execution of the initial stages of this PLC demonstrated a high metacognitive approach with careful consideration of feasible and attainable goals. I was really captivated by the content and structure of this evidence, and I would definitely like to converse further about the educational reform at your school. And after reading your evidence, I was thinking about doing some things differently with my own PLC. The rubric strengths, the structure of the meeting was wonderfully researched and followed the 3 tenets of successful PLCs. You had valid and reliable documentation of the initial stages of professional learning communities. The weaknesses, again, I think just a little bit more research on PLCs is needed. And regarding the leadership, using the data from the PLC was fantastic. And you're choosing the backwards design to unpack the standards and thinking with the end in mind is something I'm trying to do with my school, and I really like that. And I think that was it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback. It was definitely used in revision. If I could do Angela, I have Angela to do next. That's fine. Angela, I read yours. And I thought your PLC was very efficient. You included diverse members, just like Keisha said, within the school. And I think that will foster collaboration. And also, I had a question. Did you come up with specific goals during your initial meeting?
Yeah.
If so, that could be added. And I thought the meeting was very well developed and planned. The PLC members' roles and expertise were documented. And you created a vision and purpose together, and that also fostered collaboration as well. Rubric weaknesses, I think you could use more research on PLCs, just like mine. And the use of technology, I got this from looking at Matt's, could also be used as well with the presentation part of it. And you exhibited leadership by creating the purpose for the meeting with your colleagues. And I also put that you may want to provide the agenda, which you already probably revised and did. And that was it. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to go in there, adjust everything. You guys are helping me. I feel like I can go through with it and come out with a very good paper, just listening to your corrections. I love it. I do appreciate it.
We have about 1 minute, 51 seconds left. Faith, do you have another one?
I did Angela and I did Matt. So
Okay.
I'm missing one, and that's it.
It's mine. So I have Faith, and I hope I did not offend you by that first part with the content, but I was intrigued by your school. That's why I had all of the questions down there. I said content presented is aligned with the course content. Your PLC research looks good, but I would suggest adding a little bit more there. Just for you guys who didn't see it, Faith, what I put on there about the profile of her school, I had a whole bunch of questions because it seems like it's a fairly small population with, I think she said 15 teachers with 2 per grade. So I was trying to figure out like, what's the makeup? Like, how is everything? I won't read all of those because we're short on time. Rubric strength, a minimum of 3 sources were included. Your PLC members were strategically selected based on areas of expertise. And I said, it looks like you have a good team to work with. Areas of weakness, I would suggest including some type of graph, and that's again because they're stressing tables, charts, and graphs. And then your appendices, all of the stuff that was sent in the email, the meeting minutes, the agenda, any kind of artifacts. As far as leadership, evidence of leadership was demonstrated through your PLC meeting, and based on your email correspondence that you had with your principal, it's evident that you're used to leading PLCs at your school. So I said the leadership was evident. I think that was the last one. I think we covered everything.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your feedback.
You're welcome. I'm trying to look at everything is due Sunday. He said Wednesday,
Okay.
but he also said that he would be flexible, and I may actually need him to be flexible because if we don't make it back to school next week, then I'm not going to be able to meet with my group. So
That's true.